Let's talk a little bit about no money down. Everybody hears about no money down. That's what all the books and tapes, Kiyosaki, Robert Allen, Carlton Sheets, who else, Dean Graziosi, everybody's talking about no money down. Is no money down fact or fiction?
It can happen.
It's a special case, but it can happen.
I think it's mainly fiction because you can't do a deal without money transacting. The key is how the money is structured. So yeah, it is fact that you can get in with none of your money. It's all but money has to be available, and that's what people don't understand. They're thinking, well, I want to do a no money down deal. It's like, well, we don't need to think about that. We need to think about, of the money that is required, who's going to take care of it. So I don't like the term no money down. This goes back to, remember when we were talking to the agents and we wanted to come across with an air of confidence, and even though we don't have any experience, we want to be able to talk to them and get them to work with us, even though we're clueless, right? One of the problems we run into is a lot of times we'll start kicking out cliche terms like this, like no money down. And people will tell the agent, they'll say, hey, I want to do a no money down deal. And what does the agent say? Oh, great, this guy just read a book and he wants to do a no money down deal. And then they don't call you back. And so, can we say that same term without using no money down?
Seller financing.
Yeah, seller financing or something else. I just hate cliche terms. I hate hype, I hate fluff, I hate it when you read a lot of those books and then it's mainly motivational stuff instead of information. So I try to deal a lot more with, brass tacks and nuts and bolts and stuff like that. But we can say the same thing as no money down in a different, more realistic terms, where when we're talking to an agent, I think I covered a little bit earlier, instead of saying I want to do no money down, what if we said, well, my daughter was injured and we had to pay some medical expenses. I'm a little tight on cash right now. Or because of the economy, I don't want to tap the equity in my home, and so we're going to leave that alone just for security reasons right now, but we still want to get into some investment properties. Is there anything you can do to help me out? Does that sound a little more real life? I mean, that's normal stuff. And do you think they've dealt with that before? But do you see the difference in how you approach it? One way is real world, one way is cliche. If you start going cliche on them, they can sniff that out from a million miles away. And so just tell them what the situation is, and just say, hey, what can you do? And that ties into resources to get a deal done. When we're talking no money down, obviously, like I said, somebody's got to pay for it. And oftentimes there has to be some kind of credit involved. That we've got to put the deal together using capital, credit, whatever it is. And so, regardless of your status, regardless of your financial situation, the key is to find the deal, find the situation with what dialogue? What's up? Once we find out what the situation is, and we know what resources are going to be required, what's the next step? Get the dang resources. Period. If they say we need a certain amount of down, we've got two choices. We get that down payment, or we negotiate out of it. There's nothing else. And it's kind of funny because you go through those other books and seminars and they'll say, well, any situation can be fixed with creative financing. Is that true?
You have to have both sides willing to be.
Both sides have to agree. That's operating in a vacuum, and yeah, you can negotiate out of just about anything, but ultimately the other party still has the right to say yes or no to any situation you bring to the table. And a lot of times people don't understand that. It's like, we're dealing with two people here. You can be as smart as you want, but if the other party doesn't understand what you're trying to present, you're not going anywhere. And so, what if we bring an excellent deal to somebody and we structure it in a way that's beneficial to them, and it's a win-win situation everybody talks about, right? But they don't want to do it. Move on to the next one. Go talk to somebody else, because I've seen a million people go into projects and they get hung up on it and they start saying, oh, this is a great project, and so I'm going to just keep pounding on it. And 6 weeks later, these people are still pounding on this project. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Still talking about this? I mean, you guys have missed out on 6 projects in the meantime, and you're still beating up on this dumb thing that nobody's wanting to negotiate with you on. Happens all the time. You guys probably see it in your groups. People come in and they'll be like 3 months into a project, and you're like, well, what else are you doing? Well, nothing. We've been focused on this deal. Well, why don't you get rid of that piece of trash and do something that's going to be productive? You're wasting a lot of time. And that also ties into people who are already in a deal. And you may run into this a lot of times. What if somebody comes to you and they say, hey, we've already been investing and we got hammered in the downturn. We're sitting in a property and we're 30,000 under. And so they spend months and months dealing with that property, trying to maximize their return on that one property, trying not to lose money. And what are they missing out on in the meantime?
The other opportunities to make money.
Exactly. So they're passing up opportunities to make $150,000 so they don't lose $20,000. Doesn't make any sense. And so we've got, as investors, and it's hard to do, I mean, this is extremely hard to do, but we've got to take a big picture approach to this and say, how am I going to maximize my time? Is it going to be best spent trying not to lose 20 grand on this deal I'm already in? Or should I maybe eat that 20 grand, and it may damage your credit? But if you can still get into some other projects and make 150, it might be better spent for you, your time might be better spent to go and do that. And people don't understand that sometimes. And it's a tough decision because nobody likes to eat 20 grand. Sometimes it's the best course, isn't it? Okay? We've already discussed that, obviously.